My number one question is the offensive coordinator. And from what we've heard about Shane Waldron, what we've been told about Shane Waldron, offensive mastermind, schemes things up really well, has had a good track record here with quarterbacks, which is good. Geno Smith reviving his career the last couple seasons. But we've also heard, and it started with our guy Jackson Smith and Jigba at the Super Bowl, some concerns about maybe connecting with players. And then when Mina Kimes was on with us too, and she's in Seattle, she's based in Seattle, she had a lot of great things to say about Shane Waldron too, but she also raised kind of the concern about commanding a room, and I've heard that from a couple different places. So the nice thing here is you're starting over in a new place with 97% of the players being players you haven't worked with before. Yeah. Now, there's obviously a couple, and the ones they brought in love you, right? Like Gerald Everett is an example of that. So the ones that are here are probably in your corner. And it's a new opportunity to maybe learn from past mistakes. If he didn't command the room as well as another stop, maybe his first opportunity is being an NFL offensive coordinator. Now he's got this opportunity here with the Bears. He can kind of start over. So, but let me tell you, like, first impressions are very important there. So even today, assuming their first meeting is today, that first offensive meeting, like, you got to get after it. You got to show that energy. You got to command the room. And then obviously the results have to be there too. But it all starts here in these meetings, in this install, getting everyone on the same page. And I just think that over the next 8 weeks, what's more important than this? A few weeks from now, a new quarterback's going to join the room too. That's going to be your starter in Caleb Williams. You're already going to have a couple weeks of a foundation there with the rest of the room. But by the time they get out there for OTAs in phase 3 of the offseason program, you got to be able to get out there as the starting quarterback and run everything. And so a lot of this falls on the offensive coordinator. We've seen now, and very famous stat this offseason, that every single team changed their offensive coordinator over the last 2 years, which is just crazy. So these guys aren't necessarily here for long. Got to maximize the time that he has now.
Not here for a long time, here for a good time, hopefully for a productive time. What were you going to say, Nick?
Yeah, I think it's really important, too, because Matt Eberflus has always talked about wanting to bring in good teachers. This is where, if any part of the program, like, this is where Shane Waldron needs to be his best teacher, because this is obviously installing a new offense. So it's obviously very important. So we got to see how that all plays out and how these players just take accustom to Shane Waldron's teaching.
All right, should we go into what I think is important?
Yeah, I'd like this. Let's do it.
So I put it like this.
Not Tyson Bagent's development.
No, although that is
subtopic.
Something that I'll be very interested in this training camp / off season. My view is on the quarterback, and I put it like this: is Caleb Williams the real Caleb Williams? Like, I think the floor is solid, but I want to know, the sooner the better, that he actually is, and that he will be unleashed in year one, so the Bears can be that sexy, competitive, out of nowhere, who the hell knows what they're capable of. If they get the right matchup in the playoffs, they could go deep, Chicago Bears. And yes, Shane Waldron is a huge part of this, as is whoever they take at 9, as is the Ryan Bateses of the world who they've added in the offseason, who will have a big impact on it. But it's all going to come down to Caleb. I was reading a piece. Have you ever heard of the Athletic, Hoge? Nick, you ever heard of that company?
I have, yeah.
Great place,
yeah.
We have good friends over there.
So they went through each quarterback, and they did one stat that they like and one stat that they don't like. So, what they liked about Caleb, they underlined his sophomore season. What they don't like, I'll just read it out here. Williams' pressure to sack rate is concerning. The metric has caught a lot of steam in the past few years. That's been found to be stable from college to the NFL, regardless of competition. The benchmark for a good number is roughly 17%, they write. Mm-hmm. Williams had a 24.6% pressure to sack rate his final year at USC and a 20.5% career number. Williams is known for extending plays, so he can live with the higher number, but he will certainly need to lower that number to find success in the NFL. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So that was, they have to find a negative. And I'm not, don't worry, or I'm not worried. I think Caleb's going to be great. I think he's going to be fine. But, we have to see this. So for me, is Caleb going to be the real Caleb, and how soon are we going to see the quote-unquote real Caleb?
Yeah, and there's no such thing as a perfect prospect. I know Caleb Williams is going to be number one, but there are things he has to work on. And, again, that USC offensive line, too, there's a reason why he was trying to extend plays as much as he did, because a lot of plays were dead before they really even got a chance to begin.
So here's where I'm with you. I mean, first of all, I don't think we're going to find out the real answer on Caleb Williams in OTAs. But
it's all about Caleb every single day. That's what we're going to be talking about.
Well, I understand, but
yeah,
it's part of why I think we got to look at other people that, matter in the equation during the offseason program. But where I am with you on Caleb is where I go back to last June when I got fired upon by every Justin Fields fan out there in the world when I had the gall to go on the radio and report what I was seeing, which was that when he throws the ball to DJ Moore, things look really good. And when he throws to anybody else, except maybe Cole Kmet sometimes,
true,
it looks completely different. And people got up in arms. It's OTAs. It doesn't matter. They're not wearing pads, blah, 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 which is all fair to some extent, but also you can't completely dismiss what we were seeing. And then as it turned out, it almost looked exactly like that during the regular season. And now Justin Fields isn't a Bear, which I don't think any of us really thought was what was going to happen, back last June. So, is it the end of the world if Caleb Williams shows up and struggles? No, but, I do think that there are definitely things that I've learned over the years that you can pick up on from OTAs, and people can shit on 7-on-7s all they want. I get it. It's not real NFL football, but from especially the passing game standpoint, the timing, rhythm, things like that, there are things that matter. And and if anything, it's set up to look pretty good. So when it doesn't, that's where alarm bells start to go off in my head. And so I hope we see Caleb show up and start to dominate. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what we're actually able to pick out in terms of strengths, weaknesses, what still needs to be worked on. And I'm sure, look, the Bears, NFL teams take this stuff very seriously too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're not going to know if he's dynamite in 7-on-7s that he's got it. But to last year's point, we are going to know if he doesn't have it in 7-on-7s. If it doesn't look good there, it ain't going to look good at Soldier Field. So I also remember last year when we talked about that stuff, when Justin had some phenomenal days, 7-on-7, and completed 9 in a row, everybody who screamed that this doesn't matter was going nuts, that this absolutely does. Oh, wow, Justin's cooking. He's going to be the MVP. To which point somebody on the show named me, said, I'll bet you my life he's not the MVP.
That was a good bet there, Mark. Let's get into our final question that we have. And I'm going for my question, going to the defense, because I think when you look at this, I'm looking at the first string defensive line rotation, and just in a whole in totality of the Bears defense, there's not a lot of questions. But for me, that defensive line, who's going to really be lining up opposite of Montez Sweat, I think right now, just given the roster as it stands, it's probably DeMarcus Walker. But I wonder how that's going to change over time, maybe after this draft, and just see how Eric Washington, the new defensive coordinator that's being brought in, someone's worked really his entire career with the defensive line. How does he influence where some of the line changes come in? Does he see Gervon as the 1, the 3 at times? Obviously, you still have Andrew Billings, Zach Pickens. So there's a lot of guys there, but there isn't that proven commodity opposite of Montez Sweat. So how can you be creative of how you're just going to deploy guys and then utilize them so that everyone's being maximized? Because it can't just be Montez Sweat with the Bears' philosophy of rushing 4 as 1. You need to have that entire unit humming so that you can get the most out of your defensive line.
I love that. And also those guys coming back, how do they look? How big does Big Dex look?
Yeah.
What did that offseason look like?
Well, and it's always tough, obviously, with the line. So you're talking specifically about just what the rotations are, which we can see. Obviously, they're not wearing pads in OTAs and minicamp, so we're not going to be able to necessarily see the full results. One thing, though, that I will be looking forward to, though, is not only what does Gervon Dexter look like, but has that get off
True. Yeah.
increased? Because that is still something that,
We need to see.
snap timing and that quickness, you can still see that without pads. Now everything else, like after the get off, is much harder. But we'll be able to look at these guys and understand, what type of shape they're in. Like, I'll never forget. And this goes to another thing where, like, I always talk about first impressions, and I always talk about, just I think sometimes I've been guilty of underrating some of the stuff we see in the offseason program. Because it's like, oh, they're not wearing pads. It's not real football, and I get all that. But, like, Eddie Goldman was dehydrated in his first rookie minicamp practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he walked off, like, cramping and dehydrated on that Friday, like a week after getting drafted. And I just remember being like,
Okay.
all right, like, these guys are been training for the draft and stuff. Like, they should still be in shape.
I mean, I'm a big Tevin fan, and I hope that Tevin stays healthy, and the Bears need Tevin. Every training camp, Tevin seems to have something going on.
Yeah, like, and so the point there being is, like, a lot of times these things do end up being problems that end up being significant either within the ensuing season or just in general in their careers. And I think the thing we learned about just using Eddie Goldman as an example, like, Eddie Goldman was a great player.
Yeah.
But isn't he back now? Didn't he just come back from retirement?
did.
And
Like,
then
there's been so
is
many
he going to
times
retire
now.
again? Like, there was always this question with Eddie Goldman, like how much he really wanted to play, what type of shape he was in.